Is it possible to rewrite the story of Formula One with raw talent, fierce determination, and a family legacy built for speed? Most fans know Max Verstappen as the Red Bull star who stormed to his first world title in dramatic fashion, but behind the trophies and overtakes lies a story that's even more gripping. He raced in F1 before he could legally drive a car on the street, skipped Formula 2 entirely, and once played FIFA for 14 hours during a race weekend. Verstappen's life is filled with unexpected twists. A champion who grew up in a racing dynasty, dates the daughter of an F1 legend, and flies to races in his own private jet. These aren't just quirky footnotes, they reveal how Max is redefining what it means to be an F1 superstar. Here are the 10 little-known facts that paint a fuller picture of the sport's boldest new icon. 1. Racing is literally in his bloodline. Every champion has a backstory, but Max Verstappen doesn't just include hard work. It includes a heritage rooted in asphalt, engine grease, and podium dreams. Born into a lineage that screams motorsport, Max comes from not just a racing family, but a racing dynasty. His father, Jos Verstappen, once stood on the F1 podium himself, finishing with 2 podiums in his career during stints with teams like Benetton and Arrows. But the real twist in this tale is that his mother, Sophie Kumpen, was no less formidable, a go-karting champion in her own right, having won the prestigious Formula A karting championship back in 1995. She competed alongside future F1 stars like Jenson Button, Jarno Trulli, Nick Heidfeld, and Giancarlo Fisichella. These weren't just playground races. These were early battlegrounds of competitive racing. Max's uncle, Anthony Kumpen, didn't sit this one out either. He bagged 2 titles in the NASCAR Wellen Euro Series and tied for the most wins in the 24 Hours of Zolder with 6 victories. But perhaps the most telling part of Max's origin story comes from the words of his own father. Jos once revealed that by the time Max was just 4.5 years old, he was already behind the wheel of a go-kart. And if that seems young, remember, the kid had already been riding a quad bike at 2. Max wasn't just introduced to motorsport early, he was immersed in it. By the age of 7, he was not only racing against older kids, but winning. At 9, he'd already secured karting championships in Belgium and the Netherlands. And by 2013, he made headlines as the youngest ever champion in the top-tier karting category of the World Championship. It's not an exaggeration to say Max didn't stumble into racing. It was practically preordained, a family affair that became a global phenomenon. 2. Racing in Formula One without a driver's license. Here's a fact that still turns heads years later. Max Verstappen was racing at breakneck speeds in Formula One long before he had a license to legally drive on public roads. When he debuted at the 2015 Australian Grand Prix, he was just 17 years and 166 days old. And at that moment, he didn't even hold a standard driver's license. In fact, when he signed with Toro Rosso, now known as AlphaTauri, in 2014, he was still 16, which meant that it was actually illegal for him to drive on roads in his home country of Belgium. But there he was, competing with the world's fastest drivers in F1, handling corners at over 200 kilometers per hour, while back home, he wouldn't have been able to legally pull into a grocery store parking lot. It wasn't until his 18th birthday that he finally obtained a driver's license. This sequence of events triggered a ripple effect in the sport itself. In 2015, the FIA introduced what has come to be known as the Verstappen Rule, a regulation mandating that F1 drivers must be at least 18 years old to race in the series. It was a direct response to Verstappen's rapid rise, particularly concerns about his defensive driving maneuvers that involved shifting positions under braking. While some criticized these moves, others saw them as raw instincts sharpened by early exposure to high-stakes racing. The result, Verstappen not only became the youngest Formula One driver in history, but also likely the last to do so without holding a driver's license, a record that might just stand the test of time. 3. Born in Belgium, racing for the Dutch. Nationality in Formula One often plays a big part in a driver's identity. Fans wave flags, teams sell merchandise based on national colors, and entire countries sometimes rally behind a driver. So it often surprises people to learn that Max Verstappen was actually born in Hasselt, Belgium. His mother is Belgian, and he spent much of his early life in Brie, a small Belgian town. But despite all this, he races under the Dutch flag. His father, Jos Verstappen, is Dutch, and because of the time they spent together traveling for karting and races, Max grew up more immersed in Dutch culture. During his formative years, most of his social life revolved around Dutch friends and Dutch circuits. Even though he holds a Belgian passport and spent nights at home in Belgium, his racing lifestyle was rooted in the Netherlands. In an interview from 2014, Verstappen explained that due to karting commitments, he spent more time in the Netherlands and thus identified more strongly with the Dutch. He once said, "I only stayed in Belgium at night because I traveled to the Netherlands during the day to see my friends." That deep connection stuck with him, and it led to the decision to represent the Netherlands in Formula One. The culmination of that choice came in 2021, when he became the first Dutch driver in history to win the Formula One World Championship, cementing his place not just in F1 history, but also in the heart of a proud racing nation. 4. A gamer who racked up 14 hours of FIFA during a race weekend. Max Verstappen isn't just a champion on the track, he's a competitor on the virtual field too. When he's not maneuvering through Monaco's tight corners or overtaking at Spa, he's likely sitting in front of a PlayStation, headset on, totally immersed in FIFA or Call of Duty. And this isn't just a casual hobby. According to FIFA Ultimate Team stats, he once ranked 21st in the world in 2019, under the gamer tag CRGBoy007. Yes, the guy tearing through corners at 300 kilometers an hour is also among the best virtual footballers on the planet. During the 2021 United States Grand Prix weekend, Red Bull Racing Team principal Christian Horner gave fans a peek behind the scenes and revealed that Verstappen had spent around 14 hours gaming. Not training, not sleeping, gaming. That's dedication to both craft and comfort. He also shares this passion with other drivers, most notably Lando Norris of McLaren. The two have streamed games together and taken their racing rivalry online, with Verstappen winning all 3 matches in their last known FIFA duel. Between wheel-to-wheel racing and console showdowns, Max is a competitor through and through. 5. The switch from number 33 to number 1. When Verstappen started in Formula One, his car bore the number 33. It became something of a signature. Fans identified it with him, and it even featured prominently in merchandise and branding. But after winning his first world championship, he made the decision to change his racing number to the prestigious number 1. In the world of F1, the number 1 is reserved exclusively for the reigning world champion. Few drivers in recent history have chosen to use it. The last to do so was Sebastian Vettel in 2014, following his dominant 4-year run. Verstappen's decision wasn't just symbolic, it was a statement. He wanted to defend his crown and saw no better way to signify that than with the champion's number. In his own words, Verstappen said, "Number 1 is the best number out there, so for me, it was very straightforward to pick the number 1, and hopefully number 33 doesn't come back next year." It wasn't just about personal branding. It was about staking a claim and sending a message to rivals. The king of the grid had arrived. The move sparked conversations across the paddock, with some drivers admiring the confidence it showed, while others preferred to stick with their longtime numbers. But for Verstappen, it was a clear-cut choice. Switching to number 1 wasn't just about status, it represented pride in the achievement and a desire to own the moment fully. It showed he wasn't afraid to carry the pressure that comes with being champion. Merchandise bearing the new number flew off shelves, and fans quickly embraced the shift. The number became a visual reminder that a new era in F1 had begun. Even commentators and broadcasters noted the symbolic weight of seeing the number 1 back on the grid, and Verstappen was determined to make sure it stayed there for as long as possible. 6. Skipping Formula 2 entirely. Most F1 drivers graduate through the ranks, Formula 3, Formula 2, and then finally, if talent and luck align, to Formula 1. not Max Verstappen. His rise defied conventional motorsport development pathways. After a single season in Formula 3, he made the direct jump to Formula 1 in 2015, skipping Formula 2, then known as GP2, entirely. This was seen as a bold move, even a risky one by many observers and critics, but it paid off. When asked whether he felt he missed anything by not competing in F2, Verstappen replied with typical confidence, saying he didn't feel he needed the extra step. "In terms of speed, I didn't need to do a year in GP2, he explained, suggesting that while he might have missed some experience, he was more than ready for the challenge. This unconventional leap turned out to be a masterstroke. His performances quickly silenced critics, especially after he was promoted to Red Bull's main team and won the Spanish Grand Prix in his very first race with them. That victory made him the youngest race winner in F1 history. What made the leap even more remarkable was that Verstappen had only one full year of car racing under his belt before entering F1, a rarity in the modern era. Most drivers spend several seasons honing their craft in junior categories. Verstappen's ability to adapt so quickly to the complexities of Formula 1 cars, from tire management to fuel strategy and telemetry, stunned engineers and team principals alike. It was a reminder that sometimes raw talent can outpace structured experience. Red Bull took a gamble, but Verstappen turned it into a blueprint for identifying future prodigies. In retrospect, skipping Formula 2 didn't just fast-track his career. It may have changed how teams evaluate young talent going forward. His story now serves as a case study for those who dare to think differently in a sport that often clings to tradition. 7. Dating the daughter of a racing legend. And his ex-teammate's ex, the personal life of Max Verstappen often makes headlines, and one detail that caught the attention of fans and media alike was his relationship with Kelly Piquet. A Brazilian model and public figure, Piquet isn't just known for her career in fashion and media, she is also the daughter of legendary F1 driver Nelson Piquet, a three-time world champion. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Before dating Verstappen, Kelly Piquet was in a relationship with Daniil Kvyat, a former Red Bull driver, the very one whom Max replaced at the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix. To add another twist, Piquet and Kvyat have a child together. So not only did Verstappen take over Kvyat's seat at Red Bull, but he also ended up dating his former girlfriend. It's the kind of storyline usually reserved for scripted dramas, but in this case, it's real-life motorsport history playing out on and off the track. Their relationship became public in early 2021, sparking headlines across both motorsport and celebrity media circles, instantly turning them into one of F1's most-watched couples. Despite the intense spotlight, the two have maintained a relatively private but steady presence on social media, occasionally sharing glimpses into their travels and time spent together. Kelly is often seen in the Red Bull paddock, supporting Verstappen during race weekends, bringing an added layer of legacy to the team environment. Some fans have even referred to the couple as F1 royalty, a nod to their shared connections to two different generations of champions. Their bond seems to go beyond glamour, as both have experienced the highs and lows of F1 life from a young age, her as the daughter of a legend and him as a prodigy in the spotlight. His familiarity with the racing world reportedly helps Verstappen stay grounded, especially during tense championship stretches. Though media occasionally sensationalizes their history with Kvyat, both have handled the narrative with professionalism, letting their current relationship speak for itself. It's a unique dynamic, part romance, part legacy, that adds yet another compelling chapter to Verstappen's off-track story. 8. Shattering youngest ever records like dominoes. Max Verstappen didn't just break into Formula 1, he stormed in and started toppling long-standing records one after the other. From his earliest days in the sport, he seemed destined to defy age-based expectations. After Daniil Kvyat was dropped from the Red Bull main team in 2016, Verstappen was promoted and raced in the Spanish Grand Prix. What followed wasn't just impressive, it was historic. He won the race, becoming the youngest Grand Prix winner in the sport's history at just 18 years and 228 days, a record previously held by Sebastian Vettel. That race wasn't a fluke. Verstappen had already made his mark by scoring points earlier when he finished 7th at the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix. That finish made him the youngest driver to score championship points. And he wasn't done. He later became the youngest driver to lead a lap in a Formula One race, and then the youngest to record the fastest lap, putting his name against record after record in the F1 history books. Every time a new record was broken by Verstappen, it wasn't just about setting a new age milestone, it was a clear message to the sport that talent doesn't come with a minimum age requirement. These records weren't handed to him because of youth. They were earned through fearlessness, skill, and a deep familiarity with speed that began in his toddler years. Before most drivers even get a shot at a test session, Verstappen had already started carving out a legacy. He wasn't just racing older competitors, he was beating them with a level of confidence rarely seen in rookies. Even seasoned drivers began to take notice, some openly praising his instincts while others questioned how someone so young could handle such pressure with ease. But Verstappen thrived under the spotlight. His aggressive yet calculated style added excitement to every race he entered. Fans tuned in not just to see who would win, but to see what the young Dutchman would do next. The records also became mental milestones for other drivers. Verstappen had raised the bar so early that others coming through the ranks felt the pressure to perform faster, sooner, and he didn't slow down. As seasons passed, he continued setting benchmarks. Youngest to reach 100 race starts, youngest with multiple race wins, always keeping one foot on the throttle. His record-breaking journey isn't just a chapter in his career. It's the very foundation on which his F1 legacy is being built. Each record he shattered became another step on his climb to the top. Even now, with years of experience under his belt, that same hunger to set new standards remains. The only difference? He's no longer the youngest on the grid, he's the one they all chase. 9. A garage full of rivals' machines. Most Formula One drivers develop strong brand loyalty over the years. They race for a team and often stick with the manufacturers they trust, both on the track and in their personal garages. But Max Verstappen isn't your typical driver. His personal car collection reads more like an all-star cast from different F1 rival manufacturers. It's no secret that Verstappen has a love for speed, both professionally and privately. In his garage, he has owned multiple Aston Martins, including the DB11, the Vantage, and even the Aston Martin Valkyrie, a hypercar born from a collaboration between Aston Martin and Red Bull Racing. But he hasn't kept things exclusive to his sponsors. Among his prized possessions are also two eye-catching Ferraris, the Ferrari Monza P2 and the Ferrari 488 Pista. Owning Ferraris while racing for Red Bull, one of Ferrari's fiercest competitors, is something most drivers wouldn't publicly showcase. But Verstappen has never been one to follow norms. He's also been seen with a Porsche 911, GT2 RS, and even a Renault RS01, a car born out of Renault Sport's high-performance engineering. These choices reveal more than just a love for supercars. They point to a driver who appreciates performance over politics, someone who values the thrill of the drive regardless of badge or branding. He's even hinted in interviews that he chooses cars based on how they feel, not whose badge they carry. For Verstappen, it's always been about the drive, not the logo on the hood. Some of his cars, especially the limited edition models, are rarely seen in public and are tucked away in secure, climate-controlled garages across Europe. He also keeps a close eye on car performance data, often working with private engineers to fine-tune even his personal vehicles, another sign of his obsessive attention to detail. Verstappen's collection isn't just for show. He regularly takes his cars out on track days, pushing them to their limits just as he would an F1 car. His growing interest in car technology has also sparked speculation about a future role in automotive development beyond his racing career. What stands out is the variety, a blend of elegance, aggression, and mechanical brilliance that mirrors his own racing style. And just like his racing record, his garage keeps evolving, with new machines arriving, each faster and more exotic than the last. 10. Taking to the skies his own private jet. With an annual salary of around $25 million in 2022, Max Verstappen lives a life few can imagine. Among the many perks of his success, One of the most iconic is his private jet, a Dassault Falcon 900X once owned by billionaire Richard Branson. But this isn't just about luxury, it's about logistics, performance, and maintaining a competitive edge in a sport where every second matters. The jet reportedly costs between $7 and $9 million, with annual upkeep close to another $1 million. Yet for Verstappen, it's not just a status symbol, it's a vital tool. With races spanning continents, from Bahrain's heat to Montreal's wind and rain, commercial travel isn't practical for someone whose schedule demands precision, rest, and rapid recovery. His jet ensures he arrives fresher, more focused, and often ahead of the pack. The aircraft isn't only reserved for race weekends. Verstappen uses it to attend sponsor events, personal trips, and simulator sessions at Red Bull's headquarters in the UK. Its 3 powerful engines give it the unique ability to land on shorter runways, a tactical advantage that lets him fly closer to circuits than most competitors can. Inside, it offers a quiet space equipped for both business and relaxation, including lounge seating, sleeping areas, and onboard Wi-Fi. It's a flying workspace that allows him to stay connected with engineers and trainers or simply unwind between Grand Prix weekends. Every detail inside the cabin is designed with efficiency, comfort, and focus in mind, just like his driving. Some fans call it the Flying Bull, a nod to his team and its relentless performance. But it also symbolizes Verstappen's mindset: precision, autonomy, and efficiency at every turn. For a driver who skipped Formula 2, entered F1 without a road license, and conquered the world before 25, owning and operating a private jet just fits the narrative. He's joined a rare club of elite drivers, like Hamilton and Schumacher, who've shaped their careers beyond the racetrack. In Verstappen's world, everything, even 40,000 feet in the air, is part of the strategy to stay ahead. Max Verstappen's life is a tapestry woven with contradictions, surprises, and relentless ambition. He's the Dutchman who was born in Belgium, the Formula One racer who didn't have a driver's license, the son of racers who skipped the conventional ladder of motorsport, the gamer who could spend 14 hours on a PlayStation and still dominate a Grand Prix weekend, the record breaker who casually shattered youngest ever milestones with a maturity that belied his age, the racing purist who collects rivals' supercars, dates the daughter of a legend, and travels the world in a jet once owned by a billionaire. But behind the headlines and viral moments lies a driver who is much more than his stats. Max Verstappen represents the next evolution of a Formula One champion: unorthodox, unshaken, and unapologetically bold. He's not just changing the race, he's changing the rules. And as long as he's on the grid, the sport will never be predictable. Enjoyed learning these surprising facts about Max Verstappen? Then make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on deep dives into your favorite sports legends. And let us know in the comments, which of these 10 facts surprised you the most?